Welcome to the PIERS Association podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful Gandy Dancer Room at Asher Adams, and we're interviewing Lawrence Lazzara with Tucker Lazzara Law here in Utah. And I'd like to ask you a few questions so we can get to know you.
Excellent.
Why did you choose personal injury for all the different types of law there are?
That's an excellent question, and I don't think people ask me that question enough. So I started my career as a New York City prosecutor, and I always thought it was very important that the victims have their day in court and justice be served. And it was very difficult to do that in the capacity as a prosecutor due to the number of issues with respect to court calendars, cases getting backed up in court. Very difficult to ensure that justice is served with a court system that is so backed up the way it is. Before I was an attorney, I was an ocean rescuer, and I was always about rescuing victims. I always insisted on being the first person in the water, the last person out of the water. So it's inherent in my blood to be there to help victims when they're subject to trauma. And as a personal injury attorney, the legal part is very similar to that of a prosecutor, where you have to build a case. You're representing the victims of, in the civil sense, negligence. So to be able to help people that were harmed due to the negligence of others, making sure they get the appropriate medical care, they get justice with respect to the settlements of their insurance claims and whatnot. So to be able to make that type of a difference in somebody whose lives have been turned upside down by a traumatic event really helps me basically be an older version of a lifeguard, where I'm there when the trauma hits and I'm able to help somebody, save them, and guide them through the tough times. So personal injury law is the ultimate outlet for an attorney to really make a difference in an innocent victim's life.
Yeah, in case people haven't been in a car accident or had some type of a personal injury, how impactful is it to their lives when it happens to them?
Oh, it can ruin somebody's life. I mean, it's so easy for somebody to sustain a traumatic brain injury or develop PTSD following a motor vehicle accident. See, a lot of people don't realize that auto accidents or any type of personal injury scenarios, those are traumatic events. So not only are there physical ramifications, injuries to the spine, to the brain, to the body, there are also the psychological impacts as well. So it's so important that victims following auto accidents or traumatic events like this have an attorney that knows how to guide them through the process, but also has a network of medical specialists that know how to diagnose accurately all the different types of injuries that could result from an auto accident, not just physically, but also psychologically, which is why we work with the creme de la creme of specialists, orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, neuroradiologists, trauma psychologists, because it's important that every aspect of a person's injuries, whether it be physical and or psychological, be addressed, be diagnosed, and they get the appropriate treatment that they need in order to make them whole again.
So in your career as an attorney with personal injury, what types of things have you seen that have happened to people in their lives?
Sure. I've seen athletes have their careers ruined. Mm-hmm. I've seen people who were on the path to become medical physicians not be able to continue on with the academic demands due to a traumatic brain injury. We had one gal who was destined for a full scholarship ride as a competitive dancer, cheerleader, etc., and her entire career got ruined. And what was really amazing about that is I was able to recruit the former hand surgeon for the New York Yankees to come in and be an expert. And by the time I was done with that case, her entire college education and graduate education was fully funded because of the settlement we were able to get for her. So you see a lot of different impacts, especially with traumatic brain injuries. And there are behavioral changes, relationships get affected, academic careers get affected, professional careers get affected. So we once had a case with a firefighter, and this was one of those hardcore rescue type guys who, they fly him in when there are fires on the mountain and people are trapped on top of the mountain. He's the guy that's dangling from the ropes off the helicopter going in there. And he sustained a shoulder injury in a motor vehicle accident and can never do that job again. And if you know anybody who's done a job like that, it's in their blood and they love it. They live and breathe those rescue situations and being able to help people. So when that lifestyle gets taken away from them, not only is it physically traumatic, but the psychological impact that has on them, that their career is over, the thing they love and they're so passionate about, they can no longer do. It's devastating. So as an attorney, it is my duty to make sure that they get justice, that we hold the people accountable that did that injury to them. And we have to make sure that the insurance companies are adequately compensating these victims for the psychological and physical injuries that they have endured. So when somebody's career is ruined or their academic path is altered, those are huge, significant impacts. And that's why it is so important that you have an attorney who knows how to navigate the insurance claims process, but also works with the best specialists in the respective fields to make sure that the injuries are accurately diagnosed, documented, and the people get the medical treatment that they need in order to at least improve the situation and try to make them whole again. But what's really sad is in a lot of circumstances, they'll never reach pre-accident status. So, for example, that particular athlete who had her athletic career ruined, she'll never be able to participate in that sport. And that was something she did her entire life. An attorney needs to get in there and understand the big picture, understand not just what the damages are today, but what they're going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. So a lot of these injuries that are sustained not only are impact in the immediate future, but there are long-term consequences. So as you know, you've worked with a lot of chiropractors. I love working with chiropractors. I think they are champions in the personal injury world. They understand the importance of ordering MRIs and really assessing the extent of the damage to the spine, because a lot of times they'll find disc herniations, disc bulges, and those are permanent injuries. And what's sad is those injuries accelerate the natural degenerative process of the spine over the years. So somebody who sustains 1 or 2 or 3 disc herniations in a motor vehicle accident, their spine in 10, 15, 20 years is going to look a lot worse than somebody else who hasn't been subjected to that type of trauma. So you need an attorney who knows how to bring in an expert witness to write up the report that spells out not only the immediate consequence of having these injuries, but what the long-term consequences will be in the anticipated future treatments that they'll need 5, 10, 20 years down the road. So this is a very complicated area of the law, which is why it is so important that you work hand in hand with physicians who care about the victims, who care about the treatment, who care about the outcome of their cases, because without that, you can't do a good job. And the victim, the innocent victim who didn't ask for any of this to happen to them, they're not going to be fairly compensated for their injuries, and their lives, as we discussed earlier, are altered. So you need to have somebody who understands all of the different options that are out there, all of the different physicians that can really help and make a positive impact. And as I said earlier, as the attorney, it is my duty to make sure we bring in the best of the best to treat my clients, to treat these innocent victims, to make sure that they're made whole again. And it's such an important job as a personal injury attorney. And I've been doing it for nearly 2 decades now at a very high level. And I run a law firm where we're not based on quantity of cases. It's all about quality. So my staff and I, we hold ourselves out to a gold standard. And we want to make sure we work with gold standard physicians, which is why I love working with chiropractors. And I've been a champion of the chiropractic community because they are the ones that are the entry-level physicians who know how to diagnose injuries, order the appropriate medical exams, and refer out when appropriate to specialists in their different fields.
Now, when someone is first in a car accident and they don't know what just happened to them, they're very rattled, shocky, probably, what shouldn't they do?
Sure. That's an excellent question. Yes. No. Yeah. You want to hear an interesting statistic? Most of the biggest mistakes that are made by victims in auto accidents happen within the first 72 hours following the motor vehicle accident. So they'll give recorded statements to insurance adjusters and say things like, I'm not that hurt, or I think I'll be okay.
I'm fine.
Right. Yeah.
We're so used to saying that in the rhythm of speech. It's not a good
right.
idea.
And the problem with that is they don't know yet the extent of the injuries because they haven't gone through the medical evaluations. They haven't gone through the testing.
Adrenaline is still running.
Right. And as chiropractic physicians know very well, it can take weeks for the inflammation process to play out, traumatic brain injuries to reveal themselves. And so when somebody's giving a recorded statement or even thinking about settling their case right after an accident, that is the absolute worst thing they can do. Now, with my office, we do free consultations. So anytime somebody's in a motor vehicle accident, it costs them absolutely nothing to pick up the phone, give me a call, and discuss the case, discuss their options. This way they can then make decisions that are best for them as individuals, their respective cases. And that's the beauty of my office working on a contingency basis. So when we represent clients, we don't charge hourly. We don't do the billable hour thing. We work on a contingency. So we're incentivized to do an excellent job for these people. And it's so important that they have a champion in their corner that understands the insurance claims process, that understands, look, it's not in an insurance company's best interest to pay you the full value of your case. I always laugh when somebody calls my office and says, oh, we're just going to deal with the insurance. They're going to pay for everything. They've been really nice to me over the phone. Well, the people that are being really nice to you over the phone are trained to behave that way. It's designed to let you let your guard down and allows them to control the narrative, to control your treatment. I've heard voice recordings of insurance adjusters trying to talk people out of contacting attorneys, out of getting treatment. I had one case where they were trying to dictate how many visits with a chiropractor somebody can have or what they'll approve without looking at a single medical record. And unfortunately, people who aren't educated in this process will just go along with the insurance adjuster says because they think the insurance adjuster has their best interests out for the patient, and that's not the case. Insurance companies are for-profit companies. It's not in their best interest to pay you what you're entitled to, which is why following a motor vehicle accident, people will get phone calls from the insurance adjusters aggressively pushing to settle their cases early, right after an accident. And the problem with engaging in those conversations is a lot of the mistakes are made by the victims when they have those conversations. So they get it in their head, oh, I need to settle, the insurance company is going to take care of me. Then they don't get the medical treatment that they really need, and the files aren't worked up properly. And that's why it is so important that you communicate with an office like mine right out of the gate, because I can explain to them the insurance claims process, explain to them what medical treatments are available. We can also sit down, go over what available insurance coverage that they have on a case, liability insurance, underinsured motorist insurance. You have to educate. A lot of people don't know what any of that means. So it's important that they sit with an attorney and we go over all the different options that are available to them so they can make educated decisions on the medical treatment that they need for the injuries they sustained in those accidents.
So what does contingency mean?
So basically it means that our compensation, so attorneys get paid in my office based on results. So we have to successfully negotiate a settlement or win in a jury trial if it has to go to court in order for us to get paid. So we're not going to be sending bills to clients monthly. They never pay us out of pocket. So we are contingent upon a successful representation of the case. And that incentivizes us to do an excellent job, but it also takes the financial pressure off of our clients so they don't have to worry about paying legal bills. They get to focus on the medical attention and care that they need from based on the injuries that they sustained in the accident. So not worrying about a legal bill is one less problem that they have. And it's really a beautiful system because by not having to pay an attorney out of pocket or anything like that, they're able to buy that new car if their vehicle's totaled. They're able to attend medical appointments, or if they have copays on their health insurance, they'll have the money available to pay for their copays. So we basically are gambling on these cases when we sign them on that we're going to be successful in our representation. And that's where I pride myself. My office has over a 99% success rate. So when we take on a case,
phenomenal.
It really, we're very proud of that statistic. And it's because we put the work in. We treat every single case like it's the most important case in the practice, regardless of the size of the case. So whether you have a $1,000 case or a $10 million case, my job is the same. It is to work that file file up and make sure our clients get the best compensation under the circumstances from the insurance companies. The job doesn't change based on the size of the case, because every case is unique. Every person, every client is unique, and they have unique needs. And it's so important to have a law firm or an attorney working on the case that believes in quality. A lot of law firms out there, they're all about getting bigger. There are a lot of marketing law firms. Everybody's seen the billboards and the commercials and the sides of buses. We don't do that at my office. So at Tucker and Lazzara, we believe that our work product will do the talking for us. So our clients become our best marketers out there, or they tell everybody, their friends and family, what a positive experience they had at our office, because we focus on the cases. We focus on making sure our clients get the best treatment, the best legal representation, and then the results speak for themselves.
What all comes out of the settlement at the end of the case?
That's a great question. So a lot of things come out of the settlement. So people have to think of a settlement as a giant pot. And out of the pot, you have health insurance liens. So a health insurance lien, for example, the process is known as subrogation, which is a fancy word for reimbursement. So any health insurance subrogation claims where health insurance has to be paid back what they paid for accident-related medical care. There could be medical payment benefit liens, depending on the size of the MedPay statute and MedPay policy and how much they paid out. Their own insurance company could be entitled to reimbursement out of a settlement. Medical liens, so a lot of physicians now will say, you don't have to pay us now. We're going to provide the treatment now. We'll wait till your case settles to get paid. And the security interest, the agreement, so to speak, that physicians will have with these patients is, we are going to wait to get paid until your case settles. So out of the settlement, you have to pay that medical bill. So medical liens, attorney's fees, and health insurance subrogation and MedPay claims are typically all of the things that get deducted from a settlement amount, which is why it's so important that you have an attorney who's going to fight for that top dollar, who's going to hold the insurance companies accountable to pay for what the case is actually worth. And one of the really sad trends that I'm seeing in the market for PI attorneys is they're not fighting as aggressively as I think they should. A lot of law firms are not filing the lawsuits when it's appropriate, or they'll cut corners just to get cases settled because they have to meet marketing budgets and stuff like that. We don't do that at my office. We will fight. We will do what it takes to make sure our clients get the best representation and the best results based on the evidence.
So, Larry, you're very busy with your practice. Why are you interested in providing events with continuing education?
That's another excellent question. So I've been teaching continuing education courses on a postdoctorate level to chiropractors for almost 14 years now. And I think it is so important that chiropractors understand all of the different options that are available to them when managing a personal injury case. So I actually started this when I worked up a file for a client, and I was reading through the chiropractor's records, and the patient was complaining of dizziness, nausea, ringing of the ears, and there was no referral to a neurologist, no brain MRI ordered. Now, again, I'm not a medical physician, I'm just a lowly attorney, and even I knew that that looked like a concussion or a traumatic brain injury. And so that was an injury that was missed and not diagnosed, and the chiropractor failed to refer out when it was appropriate. And so I realized that there is a huge movement here that needs to be spearheaded by somebody who understands the big process. And so I thought it was very important that chiropractors be able to identify symptoms of conditions that might be outside the scope of their practice. For example, PTSD, anxiety, etc. So it's important that they understand what symptoms to look for, what types of questions to answer, when it would be appropriate to refer out. And I think it was also important, as an attorney, I have the burden of proof of showing that a person was injured. And I have the burden of proof of showing the extent of those injuries. So it's so important that entry-level physicians do the appropriate studies, order the appropriate medical diagnostic imaging studies, refer out when appropriate, because if you don't diagnose the injuries, they don't exist. Insurance companies do their evaluations based on the medical documentation. So the documentation has to be in order. The causation statements need to be in there. Physicians have to do their part. Otherwise, the clients are victimized again. So not only were they subject to injuries that they didn't ask for, they now have physicians who aren't doing the file justice or accurately diagnosing the injuries that are there, and therefore their compensation is going to be reduced for that failure. So I realized that by bringing chiropractors together with a multidisciplinary approach, and what I mean by that is bringing in neuroradiologists, neurologists, neurosurgeons to talk about all the different types of advanced care and modalities are available to them so that they can properly manage a case and ensure that all of the injuries are properly diagnosed and their patients get the appropriate treatment. So by doing these continuing education courses, I'm able to bring the chiropractors and various medical specialists together to learn how to work together and build up a case. And then at the end, obviously the desired outcome is the best outcome for the patient.
Thank you for joining us today, Larry.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. I wish you all the success in the world, and I am confident PIERS is going to make a huge difference in the personal injury community. Thank you for all that you're doing. It's pioneer work, and I congratulate you for that.
Thank you. It's great working together.
Thank you.